Hey everybody, we're here for day two of my predictions for the NCAA tournament using astrology. I'm going to try to tone down showing the charts a little bit today. The last video was an hour. I'm not teaching a course in advanced astrology. I'm just trying to help you guys make some money, um, show you the bets that I'm going to be making. And all right, so we'll move on here. I'll try to get through this quickly as well because this internet connection just completely sucks. I had to change hotels. I left Vegas. I'm here in Reno. Um, wasn't able to find any good private meeting rooms to do this video in. So just going to try to wing it here in my hotel room. Um, barely have one bar. So hopefully we can get through this. All right. So I'm going to stick with more with betting picks instead of going overboard on trying to pick a winner. A lot of these games were very, very close. I don't have as much confidence in a lot of the games that I looked at today as I did yesterday. Some of them were just clear as day. Um, there were some underdog teams that had amazing astrology charts playing against favorites that did not have nearly that had poor looking charts. Um, we don't have as much of that today. So we'll take a look at the ones that stood out first. Um, let's see here. This is Sean Miller of Xavier's chart. I want to show you an example of something that I look for. Uh, not only is the Pisces stellium that this tournament starts under, not only does it make really a really good aspect to his Scorpio Sun and Neptune, basically has transiting Sun, Neptune, and Mercury, all in Pisces, making a trine to his Sun Neptune conjunction in Scorpio. But what makes this year possibly very special for him is we look at his solar arc. Now, what solar arc does is it's basically a type of progression that we go roughly 1 degree of the zodiac per year of birth. And here we have Jupiter at 0 degrees of Libra. Now, roughly when there is 55 degrees between Jupiter and the sun in his chart. So that means right around the age of 55, he's going to have a collision of these archetypes come up in his life. And that's going to be a special year. It's basically a progression of solar arc Jupiter to the sun. Um, and Scorpio, having a Scorpio Neptune conjunction, Sun Neptune conjunction in Scorpio, um, it's pretty good for an intense coach that really tries to get under the surface and change and transform his players and his team into a cohesive unit. Um, having Jupiter there is going to be a year where he's going to see the fruit of all that hard work and all that progress that he's made. And right here, we look down at solar arc. I'm going to put this over here. Jupiter, 25 degrees, 30 minutes of Scorpio. And the fact that this tournament's starting with Neptune making a trine to this position, as well as Mercury and the Sun, that's going to bode well. I think Xavier could go really deep. So that's going to be the first game I'm going to talk about. I would take Xavier um, to probably win big, and I'll be looking for them to go deep in this tournament. Okay. One of the upsets that I've got. This is AJ Mitchell's chart, and he plays for UC Santa Barbara. He's really going to show out in this tournament. He's got a great looking chart here. Notes on that particular game. Yeah, his progressed sun is exact to minute. Let's see, here's his progressed sun. You see his progressed sun right here at 21 degrees of Capricorn. And his natal Jupiter right here at 21 degrees of Cancer. It's exact to the minute opposite at the start of this tournament. That's very, very good for him. He's got another number of other supporting aspects that show that he's going to do really well. UC Santa Barbara is going to upset Baylor this game. Baylor's had a rough year, down year. They were looking like they were going to come back, and then they lost a couple of got blown out at home to Iowa State. Scott Drew has got a couple of very hard astrology aspects going on in his chart. Pluto exact square his natal sun right now. Um, that's something that sort of that's transformative of the ego and not so good of a way. That's kind of where your ego gets slapped around a bit. So UC Santa Barbara got them to win, and I want to look at Mike Miles' chart of TCU. It is possible because we don't have the exact time. I'm having to use noon time. That what I'm seeing is the injury that already occurred. But I'm noticing that at the start of the tournament, his progressed Mercury at 22 Pisces is exact square to his progressed Pluto, almost to the very minute. That could be a re-aggravation or it getting into his head. But one thing that is happening now that was not happening before is Saturn making an opposition to his sun near exact. It looks like a big effort, but and I looked at some of the other players on TCU's team. Damian Baugh had some tough transits for this tournament. Jamie Dixon looks like he's going to have a great year in about 2 years. Um, his astrology looks amazing. His solar arcs look amazing. But I think TCU gets upset. And looking a little bit at the other teams that they would potentially play, I'm leaning towards Arizona State being that team, and Arizona State making the final 32 here. For the rest of this video, I'm just going to give a rundown of my picks and the reasons, a couple of reasons maybe. Again, some of these I don't really care who exactly wins if they're really close. I'm leaning towards certain teams covering, and my concern isn't to go 32-0 in the first round picking winners necessarily as it is to go 32-0 in my bets. Well, that's more important. Uh, I've got Michigan State winning a very close game. Both these coaches have some pretty good transits and pretty good aspects. But I looked at these charts, and Tom Izzo strikes me as a guy that would give a shit more. Um, Andy Enfield, just maybe I'm wrong. She's a guy that I know he's a super successful businessman, has a hot wife. I'm sure he's going to get some consolation if he loses. But Tom Izzo seems like a guy that is bleeds Michigan State and cares a lot. So if I'm seeing both teams have some good transits and show a lot of fight, I don't see looking at Tom Izzo's chart and it being positive and him losing the game. It seems like that would care a lot more if he lost, or a lot more intensity in that regard. So Michigan State's going to win a very close one. But we already got Xavier winning. I got UC Santa Barbara winning. Um, St. Mary's VCU is another weird one. Uh, this was a weird one because Randy Bennett, I looked at his chart and I was a little bit surprised. I mean, has one of the most intense charts I've ever seen. But he's looking at it, he seems like a guy that plays better under pressure. And there's going to be a lot of pressure in this game, but I think he thrives on it, as well as some of his players. I look at Logan Johnson's chart. He's got some hard aspects, but they sort of mirror the hardness of maybe his upbringing and his coach. So I'm going to lean towards St. Mary's fighting this out, even though VCU has a couple of good things going. There was a lot to unpack here. I'm not super strong either way, but because of that, I'm going to go with the favorite here and pick St. Mary's. But this is one as far as betting I might stay away from. If there's going to be a big upset today, I think it's going to be Marquette. Vermont should cover in this game. Um, I don't like Shaka Smart's chart for the tournament. I was kind of leaning towards Marquette being a dark horse to go to the Final Four. When I look at the astrology, I'm not seeing it. Marquette will probably win this game. I'm not sure that Vermont has enough to pull the upset, but I will be betting for Vermont to cover. Um, Iowa State and Pitt. Uh, Iowa State coach has amazing progressions and transits. Um, I expect their shooting guard from Minnesota to stay hot. He's got Jupiter on his progressed Venus and Mars. Um, Iowa State should win that game pretty handily. Uh, Creighton and NC State was another one. Kevin Keats, the coach for NC State, his chart doesn't show a whole lot. Creighton's coach's chart is under some pressure, but I think they'll be fighting hard to win this game. Ryan Kelbrenner, the center, looks to have some pretty damn good aspects. He should have a really good game. I would take Creighton in a close game. I would take Ryan Kelbrenner and the over. Purdue's chart, it was too good. They're going to move on easily. Memphis and Florida Atlantic. Um, Pisces stellium hits Penny Hardaway's chart dead on. Uh, he's got some interesting progressions. His solar arc, similar to Sean Miller's, making an exact contact this particular year. That makes it a special year. And it's no coincidence that interesting enough, he's got Uranus at nearly 10 degrees of Libra. His solar arc, Mercury is going to be exact on that placement. And he's got DeAndre Williams this year, and DeAndre Williams' son is in that exact degree of Libra. So it hits Hardaway's chart, um, as does Kendrick Davis. So I've, I've got I've got Memphis winning, maybe maybe pretty easily in this game. Memphis should face Purdue at the second round. I was interested in looking at Bryce Drew's chart to see if he had anything that would reincarnate some of the energy from his upset against Ole Miss, and not seeing it. The midheaven at the very end of game is right on his natal Saturn. Uh, Gonzaga should win this game. The next game is Kentucky Providence. I've got Providence winning. Ed Clooney's got some really really good transits going on. At the end of the game, the midheaven is going to trine his lunar nodes. The moon will be trine his Jupiter Uranus midpoint. That's going to be very good. And Oscar Tshiwe, Uranus is exact to the minute square his natal Mercury at the start of the tournament. Uh, he's got too much stuff going on in his head, too much anxiety to win. Is what that would mean. Um, and God, John Calipari, he's got a T square of Mars, Pluto, and Jupiter. That's really fiery and intense, almost a little too hard at times, and that's going to be spilling. And Saturn's going to be hitting that poorly, so some of that's spilling over into his players, giving his players a little too much anxiety. He's sort of losing his touch. I'm going to take Providence in this game. Already mentioned TCU. I would go under on Mike Miles personally. I hope that he doesn't re-aggravate the injury. Uh, Indiana Kent State was another one. It was one that it was hard to put your finger on. Um, I did so much research on this game. Some of these games I went 3, 4 players deep, and of course I'm looking at multiple charts in each player. But I think Indiana wins a close one. I think Kent State is going to cover. UConn is another one. Adamo Sanogo, I think he's going to have an outstanding game. Take him in the over. Danny Hurley's charts being hit well. UConn's going to win. Um, Miami and Drake, I was a little bit surprised. That coach at Miami is got to be so underrated in terms of his performance in the NCAA tournaments. I mean, hell, he took George Mason to the Final Four. And then how deep did Miami go last year, surprisingly? He's done great in the NCAA tournament. But, I'd simply just read from the astrology. Some of these games, when I've looked at them, I've gone into them thinking that I'm sure, I bet this I bet Miami's chart's going to look great. And I'm sort of looking for that, but I completely reverse it when I look at it. I think Drake's going to cover. I think Montana State is going to cover against Kansas State. Kansas State's coach looked great in the beginning of the year, not so great at the end of the year. So those are my picks. And that's Montana State to cover. That's not to win. I don't think it's going to be enough necessarily to pull the upset. If there's any huge upset today, it's going to be Vermont beating Marquette, although that would be a huge surprise. I guess Montana State may beat Kansas State, and Drake might beat Miami, but I'm not betting on those money line. My upset pick that I feel the most certain about is UC Santa Barbara. Uh, was that against Baylor? I think that was against Baylor. I got Baylor losing. It is against Baylor. Okay. Okay, so those are the picks. I'm going to do another video where I try to find. I'm going to go to the Final Four right away and see, now that I've got every team's chart done, which teams that are left over resonate the most. Um, based on where the planets are, where the energies lie at that time, should be able to tell me which teams are most likely to be there. So I'll be looking at that. I'll be sharing a video of that next time. I appreciate that, everybody. Thank you. All right, good luck. So.